Do you want to know why you are distracted? Why every time you make a plan, something bad happens, something interrupts your plan? Why, when you decide to grow in a particular direction, to expand yourself, to be more than what you are, people start to come and distract you, or they have things to say that may be discouraging towards you. Why does that happen? I'm going to tell you that in this video, and I'm going to share with you how you can not be distracted by people, technology, all the things that are trying to take you away from your purpose, from your growth, and from your expansion. So, as human beings, the way our brain and our minds work, we are set in two different directions. We can go in two different directions. We can go in the direction of fear and the direction of self-protection, self-preservation, which is our default mode, right? Because at our baseline, we are animals. But we also have this blessing of having a mind and having a brain that is probably the most complex computer system or intelligence on earth, right? And with this brain and this mind that we have a second option, which is the option of growth and expansion. And so most of the time, your entire life, you are set on a self-preservation and a fear-based mode, right? Everything that you have been taught from the time that you were born, for most people, has been to help you stay safe, to help you preserve what is already there, and to keep you stuck, okay? That is how the system is designed. That is how our brains are designed. Everything around us is designed to keep us stuck. And the reason why it wants to keep us stuck is because when you choose to find another path, so if this is the stuck path and you decide to go in another direction, right, that is the direction of growth and expansion, it is going to be a threat to this path, okay? It's a threat to the self-preservation path. So I want you to look at my hands and think of like my wrist as where all of your energy is going to be going, right? And your energy can only go into one direction, right? Either it's going in this path, which is your self-preservation path. This is the path that keeps you stuck in the loop. This is the path that keeps you doing what everybody expects of you. This is the path that keeps you watching social media. This is the path that keeps you basically not doing what it is that you want to be doing, right? And then this is the path of growth and expansion. This is the path of having a new goal and setting course towards that goal. This is the path of starting a business. This is the path of learning a new language. Whatever the goal is, it is a path that is different from this one, right? It is the unknown. It is the place where you can create new things. And so whenever your energy is coming from your wrist, it can only go in one way. And for most of your life, this path, I hope you can see this. For most of your life, this path has been the dominant path. So imagine that you're like 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. And most of your life, you have been in following this path, right? This path is the straight path, is the path that's laid out for you, is the path that tells you that you need to be employed, is the path that tells you, you need to eat 3 meals a day, is the path that tells you all these things, right? You're being told what to do because if you do these things, then you're going to be safe. It's a self-preservation path. And this path keeps you here. It keeps you in a lower vibration. It keeps you in a state of being stuck because everybody's doing the same thing. But as an individual, as a person, we all know that there's something else in us, right? We all know that we have other possibilities because one of the things that happens within this path is that we see other people following a different path, right? And so we're like, why are we in this path? Why can't we just go in this direction? And so when you decide, and I love the word decide because decide means you're deciding to cut this one off, right? You're cutting off all other possibilities and focusing on one path. When you decide to go on the growth trajectory, this side is going to rebel. And that is where distractions come from. Okay, I'm going to give you an example or a story to kind of help bring this together. 10 years ago, I was finishing up my residency when I was in internal medicine, which is what I did in a past life. And that year had been the toughest year that I had ever experienced. It was, I was almost done. I had so many things going on with my residency program. I had a lot of things going on with my personal life. It was a very, very difficult year. And so I set an intention to do something that I had never done before, to go into the unknown. And I was using that intention as a way to get through the pain and the struggles and all the issues I was dealing with at the time. So I set the intention that I was going to travel on my own, so solo travel to Asia. So I went to Southeast Asia, and I was going to do it for, I think I did it for seven weeks. Okay. All I knew was that I was going to buy a ticket and go to Bangkok and have a return ticket from Bangkok, and I had nothing planned. And so I remember telling my friends this, because what happened was, as a result of this trip, I had to make more money. And residency, your salary is capped, so I couldn't use my salary from residency to plan this trip, which ended up costing me about $7,000 or $8,000. And so I decided to take a job, like a side job, as a hospitalist, because I was already third year, so I could do that. I could pick up some shifts, hospitalist shifts. And that decision to make more money so I could have this goal created so much hoopla, so many problems for so many different people. Everybody had a problem with the fact that I was choosing to take my extra time that I could have been having fun, because we had more elective rotations, and I was choosing to work and choosing to challenge myself, right, in order to make money so I could do something even more challenging, which was going to a country that I didn't speak the language of, and not having a plan of how I was going to navigate that trip. And it was just like, it was 4 to 6 months of all kinds of things. I was the most distracted in terms of, like, let's go watch a movie, let's go do this, let's go do that. Whenever I was on backup, I would get called more, so it would interrupt my plans for, working and different things. People all of a sudden were not very nice. They weren't nice, but I had even more issues coming up. There were just so many things. And then obviously I had made the mistake of sharing my plans with people, what my summer plans were going to be before I started working. And so everybody just had something to say about this. Like, oh my God, you're crazy. How can you travel on your own? What if you don't even speak the language? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if you run out of money? What if? There were just so many things that were coming up, that people were talking about, that were like distractions, that were discouraging. And nobody, absolutely nobody, was like, this is a great idea. It is a good idea to take a break from your 3 years of residency to go and see the world before you commit to a career, right? Nobody said that. This was just something that I thought would be a good thing for me, to just escape the toxicity of the environment that I was in, because, residency programs are, generally speaking, very toxic environments. Hospitals are very toxic environments. Nobody had anything positive to say. Nothing. And so I had to really protect this dream of mine. I had to ignore what people said. I had to ignore all the distractions. I had to focus on the one goal that I had, which was to take my butt to Bangkok, to Thailand, and then I was going to figure it out from there. All I knew was I needed to buy the ticket, which, when I was getting a lot of resistance, and people were talking and saying all these things, all the bad things that could happen, all the tsunamis that have happened in Thailand, all the things, I heard everything. Every bad thing that could happen to me, I heard it. Shark attacks, kidnapping, and not to say that these things are not valid reasons, But I got more negative feedback and more discouragement, and I had no encouragement at all. So the only person I could rely on for encouragement was myself for this whole trip. And so once I got to a certain point where I was able to pay for the ticket, that was the first thing that I did. Pay for a return ticket. It ended up being like $900, which at the time I would say was really affordable. So I bought my ticket and I had the time frame, so I knew 7 weeks I was gonna be in Asia. I didn't know anything else. All I knew was I had booked the ticket and I had made that commitment, and there was no going back. And so that is how you are going to be able to fend off the distractions. Okay, I want you to know that when you have intentions to grow as a person, it could be just putting yourself in a new situation. It could be starting a business. It could be losing weight. It could be learning a new language. Whatever the case may be, once you decide to go away from the safe path, from the stagnant path, from the path that is known, into a different path, which is the unknown path, which is the path of possibilities, which is the path of growth and expansion, the path of stagnation, the fear-based path, the path of self-preservation is going to rebel, and it's going to rebel in so many different ways. Okay, you're gonna have distractions from people, you're gonna have distractions from food, you're gonna have distractions from technology, you're gonna have distractions from your own mind. And I want to talk about this because this can be like, you can end up self-sabotaging yourself, right? You hear a lot of thoughts in your mind about all the possible things that can go wrong because people said that to you, and then it just stays in your mind. And then the other thing that can happen is you can self-sabotage yourself by trying to do too many things that are on the growth trajectory. And when you have too many possibilities, a lot of times people don't have enough. A lot of times people are not able to do many things at the same time, right? One of the videos I made previously, I talked about the word priority and how priority is a singular word. I know we've made it into a plural now, but it used to be a singular word. And so if you want to go on the path of growth and expansion, you have to pick one thing that you're going to focus on and make it a good thing. Okay, make it something that is going to be beneficial for you. It's going to help you grow as a person. It's going to help you level up, right? Because, sorry, I'm like about to drink my coffee. Because if I put this path the way I have it, this path, which is the path of self-preservation and a fear-based path, and the path that you're stuck in is a lower path. And the path of growth and expansion is going upwards. It's an upward path, okay? And so you need to know which way you're sending your energy towards. You know, when you wake up in the morning, what are you focusing on? What is the food that you're eating creating energy in your body for? Is it going to be to preserve you and to stay stuck? Or is it to go towards growth and expansion? And the way to succeed is to take things one step at a time, okay? So now we're on the expansion path, okay? This is the goal, but you have to take step. And I will say that the most important thing you should do is pick one thing. Pick one thing, pick one goal, and stick to that goal. So for me, that goal was to go to Thailand, right? And I said I picked a goal, and I picked a time frame. I was going to be there for 7 weeks. And so then once I did that, everything that I did, everything that I used my spare time for was towards that goal, right? First thing that I did was try to figure out how much money I would need. I really couldn't figure it out because I hadn't decided at the time what countries I was going to go to. And I didn't want to have a set path because I wanted to move away from the set path, because I had gone through residency. Everything was straight and narrow, and there was no flexibility. And I wanted to almost rediscover myself. It was like I was going on a walkabout. And so I didn't want anything set. I just wanted to go and see where the river took me. And that's literally what I did. So have a goal and then start to take steps, right? Think about all the different things. For me, it was, how much money could I possibly need for this trip? So I set the intention to have $10,000 because I had no idea where I was going to end up going to. And it was a good thing that I did, because I ended up going to Japan. Japan ended up being the most expensive place that I'd ever been to on that trip, because when I was also going, I didn't want to deal with visas, right? Because I was just going to be going. So I could only pick countries where with my American passport, I could just go. So that was also another thing. So set the intention, figure out what are the things, what are the 3 to 5 things that you're going to need in order to get to that goal, right? But the most important thing is just having one particular goal. And then just think one step. Okay, if your goal is to start a business, right? For me, I teach people how to turn their knowledge into a product or an online education business. So the first thing that you think about in that scenario is, what is the thing that I'm going to sell, right? So that is going to be your knowledge. And then you ask yourself, okay, what do I know that can help somebody out there? And once you find that and you put that into a product, now before you even put it into a product, you ask yourself, well, are there other people who are looking for the same solution to the problem? And if the answer is yes, then that might be a better thing to do versus you know something but nobody wants to know about that thing because it's not solving a problem, right? So that's the first thing that you do when you're creating a business. You have a product, or basically you have an offer, something that if you tell somebody, hey, I'm a business and I solve this problem, they're like, oh, I have that problem. I would like you to help me solve that problem. So that's the first step, right? And then once you have this offer, then you have to have people come to you and know that you have this offer. So that's where making content on social media comes in. That's where other things, I teach social media content creation, but you can do ads, or you can do different ways of getting people to know what you do, right? And then the third thing is to actually do the thing, is to help the people who come in when they buy your product, to help them solve the problem. And I do that with my group coaching program. I have a course, and then I have a program where I walk you through the process, right? So I'm your guide. I hold your hand on one side, and then your other colleagues are holding your hand on the other side, and we walk together towards the goal. That is how you start a business, okay? How do you travel? How do you decide to travel the world like I did, or travel on your own? Well, make sure you have a location where you're going to start and finish, right? So I had a place where I went to, where I was going to go into, and where I was going to leave from. So Thailand was my spot. And then I gave myself enough time. So I gave myself a time frame I was going to travel in. And then I gave myself enough money to travel with. So those were my 3 steps, right? And then I also just set the intention that because I didn't know where I was going to go, I was only going to go to countries where my US passport was able to take me to. And that was it. And that was enough to get me in that direction. And I had those things in mind. So whenever the distractions came, I had something to look at to say, okay, I know these distractions are happening because I am staying away. I'm taking away the energy of self-preservation and stagnation, and I am putting my energy towards growth and expansion. It was always a confirmation for me that I was going in the path that I wanted to. The more resistance you have, the more likely you're going on the path of growth and expansion, okay? Because the path of self-preservation cannot exist with the path of growth and expansion. You have to pick one, okay? And so when you face distractions, when you face resistance, when you face roadblocks, understand that that means that you're on a path of growth and expansion. And I want to say kudos to you, because it is not easy to choose the path of growth and expansion. It is much easier to choose a self-preservation path, a known path, a fear-based path, right? And distractions. It's much easier to focus on a fear-based path, a distracted path, a self-preservation path, and it's harder to choose a path of growth and expansion. But if you choose that path, then the possibilities are completely endless, okay? You are able to do whatever you want. You are able to grow. You're able to expand your potential. You're able to be creative, and you're able to honestly enjoy with this life, right? Life is not all about being safe and being stuck in one spot. Life is about living. And in order to live life, you need to grow and you need to expand. Just like when someone gets pregnant, the baby is growing and growing and growing. And when they come out, they continue to grow. They crawl, they walk, they speak. They are continuing to grow because that is what life is all about. And so, unfortunately, the way the system is set up, we end up getting stuck at a certain point because the thinking is that you're supposed to level off, right? You grow to a certain point, you hit 18, then you start leveling off, you go to college, then you stay, you get a job, and then you just get stuck in this, and then you retire and you go down. No, it should be the other way. You should just continue growing. You just come from here, you work your way up, you continue growing, expanding, learning, traveling, doing all the things that can make you grow. You're not now physically growing, but now you're mentally growing. And so I want to encourage you to choose the path of growth, choose the path of expansion. And whenever you face distractions, just know it is confirmation that you are leaving the path of self-preservation, and the path of self-preservation is rebelling against you, but you can win this war. I hope that this video was helpful. I'll see you on the next one.